Hello, and welcome to this Academic Skills Introduction to Undergraduate Dissertations provided by the Academic Skills team here at UWS. This video is intended as a beginner's introduction for dissertations for students who may have questions about what a dissertation is, how they work, and what kind of support is available here at UWS. The structure of this video is we're going to answer 5 of the most common questions that students have about dissertations, starting with the first and perhaps most obvious question: what is a dissertation? Now, even if your dissertation is a very long way off, the chances are you've heard the word, or perhaps you've heard another word that means the same thing, such as a thesis or a research project. Contextually, they can often mean dissertations. Now, the reason why there's so many words associated with dissertations is because they're highly individualized and can take on a myriad of forms. And as a result, they have a lot of things that are associated with them. In general, however, a dissertation is a large project that you're going to embark on at the end of your program, and it's designed to stress specific skills that you will have gained throughout your course. In general, the skills that it often tests are your ability to design, undertake, and complete a large study, your skill in locating, selecting, and critically appraising existing information from academic sources, your decision-making, project management, and organizational skills, as well as your adaptability to new challenges, and your ability to summarize findings and to draw valid conclusions. Now, this can all seem rather daunting, and it can seem even more daunting if you're worried that your dissertation is going to be something that you're going to be left largely on your own to do. However, don't panic about that. Dissertations are certainly individual projects, but you will not be left entirely on your own to do them. There's a huge support network within the university that's available to help you, so don't feel like you're going to be left completely on your own. Ultimately, your dissertation is your project. You get to pick what it is, you get to write it, and you get to feel proud at the end of it having completed it. But don't feel like you're going to be left on your own. It's simply not the case. A second common question we get asked is, when should I start thinking about my dissertation? And there's no single answer to this question. If you're in the early years of your degree and you're wondering whether or not you should be thinking about your dissertation, the answer is probably not right now. What you should really be doing is engaging with the information that your course is presenting to you. At the beginning of your course and throughout the early years, you'll be presented with a huge variety of ideas, concepts, information, research, and just general topic-specific things. And it's important to simply engage with these and enjoy the process of learning about them. Often what you'll find happens is that as you're presented with these, certain ideas stick with you more than others. And these are often the ideas that you end up reading more about, researching more into, writing more about, and just generally finding that you have an interest in them. And these ideas can often form the basis of a dissertation. Now, these ideas do not have to be specific. Often they can be very large and very broad, but they can at least offer you a direction that you want to take for your dissertation. And if you do find one of these and you do start to think that this might be an area that you'd like to explore for your dissertation, the next step can often be to try and find some kind of gap in the research. Now, when we say gaps in the research, we mean something about a specific topic that we simply don't know, that we don't have an answer to. Sometimes these gaps can be very small and very specific. It might be a very particular thing that hasn't been investigated or a very particular study that hasn't been carried out. Other times they can be very broad, and this is often the case with newer topics or topics that are constantly evolving. But this is a good thing to keep an eye out for, are just general topics and then gaps within that topic. The important thing to remember in the early years is don't rush. Sometimes it takes a while to find something that you're really interested in exploring. Just stay open-minded and engage with your course, and eventually you'll discover something that you're interested in and that could form the basis for your dissertation, and you can go from there. The third question we often get asked is, what can I do for my dissertation? And this is the kind of question that varies massively from subject to subject. In general, however, dissertations are built around a specific question that you aim to answer by conducting your research project. And this happens either by conducting original research or by collating existing research in such a way that allows us to learn something new from seeing the combination of it all together. Good research questions tend to have 4 key things that go into them, and it's worth thinking about these when you're constructing your research question. You want it to be specific. You want it to be something that you can pick up and try and answer. And if you pick something that's too broad, you'll often end up getting lost within that. So try and hone in on something that's particular and that you can achieve. You want it to be original. You don't want to spend a lot of time working on stuff that we already know or answering questions that we already know the answer to. Now, the important thing to say is when we say original, we don't mean you have to completely reinvent the wheel. You can simply come up with a new approach, try a different methodology, or investigate data that hasn't been already investigated. But it does need to have some kind of spark of originality to it. It wants to be answerable, and this may seem obvious, but often this is to do with your resources. You have a limited amount of time and you have a limited word count. And while that word count might seem enormous, it will go by very quickly if you pick a project that's far too big and you can't fit it in. So try and think about how much space you have, how much time you have, what kind of question you want to answer, and how you're going to use those resources to answer it in a satisfying way. And finally, it wants to be interesting, not least to you. This is something that you're going to spend a lot of time on, going to put a lot of work into, and put a lot of effort in. So make sure that you pick something that's interesting enough to sustain you throughout that lengthy process. The fourth question we often get is, what about my supervisor? Now, your supervisor will be there throughout the process of your dissertation. After you submit your proposal, which will be a brief outline of what you want to do for your dissertation, you'll be assigned a supervisor that can help you with that specific project. Supervisors have a number of key assets to aid you, not least of which being that they have been there and done it. They will have written multiple dissertations throughout their career. They will have graduated off the back of those, although I can't guarantee that they'll be wearing their mortise board when you meet them. And as a result, they will be able to offer you first-hand advice. They can also provide specialist subject information, guidance on good research practice, advice on project management, suggestions for further reading, and feedback on excerpts of work. So they provide a wide range of things that will help you enormously when it comes to your dissertation. Now, when you first meet with your supervisor, some students have the worry that they have to have their project completely completed and ready to go as soon as you meet them. And this isn't the case. When you first meet your supervisor, you can simply come with those ideas that we talked about before, a general idea of how you want your project to work. And this is enough for them to give you feedback and allow you to hone it in onto something more specific and a more of a workable project. Your supervisor isn't just there to help you write your dissertation, they're also there to help you plan your dissertation. So as long as you have those rough ideas in place and a general idea of how you want to approach it, your supervisor can help you to shape that into a workable project that then you can go away and engage in yourself. Now, all supervisors are different, just like students, and it's important to keep in mind that different projects will require different approaches, so supervisors will often tailor that depending on what kind of approach you're using and just generally what your preferences are in terms of their role. However, when you first meet your supervisor, there are a few good establishing questions that you can ask just to get an idea of how you want to work with them. How regularly do you want to meet with them? Do you want it to be fairly regular, or do you want larger gaps between them so that you can get larger chunks of work done? How much writing can you send them for feedback? This will be a case of how much you can get done, how much time they have, how much feedback you can expect. So it's worth establishing that early on so you know what you're working with. And do they want to set deadlines for specific sections of your dissertation? Your dissertation will be broken down into smaller chunks, such as your introduction, your literature review, your methodology, your conclusions, etc., etc. And sometimes you'll write specific sections of these earlier than others, which you can then send to your supervisor for feedback. So it's worth asking if you want to set specific deadlines for any of those particular topics. This can often help you, particularly if you know that you are someone who likes to leave work until the last minute. Dissertations do not respond well from being crammed in at the last minute. They require a lot of time and future planning. So if you know that you are someone who tends to leave work until the last minute, maybe set some deadlines on the vital parts of your dissertation so that you get those done sooner rather than later. The final question we often get is, what other support is available for dissertation students? Now, as mentioned before, you will not be left on your own to do your dissertation. There's a wide support network in place. Everyone's support network will look slightly differently, but often it's made up of within the university, without the university, but also the students that you're working with. Peer support from other students writing their dissertations can be a huge source of support, both in terms of knowing what you're all going through emotionally, and also just generally checking that you're all on the right track. You'll all be doing different projects, but it's often useful to get feedback from other students who you've been through your course with. There's also external support from outside of the university, such as friends and family who can offer emotional support, as well as often offering just generally to read pieces of work. Just because people aren't subject specialists doesn't mean that they can't offer useful feedback on work. And then, of course, there's direct support from student services and the university, and this comes in a wide variety of forms. The library can offer advice on finding resources, tracking down information, as well as guidance on using reference management software if that's something that you'd like to pursue. If you're encountering issues with a disability and find that you'd benefit from more support, you can self-refer to the disability support and they can go from there to help you. There's also the counseling service if you're experiencing issues with mental health or just want someone to talk to. Careers advice can help you if you're worried about what happens after your dissertation and you complete your course. It's worth booking an appointment with them and talking about what you could possibly go and do next. If you do run into issues completing things by the deadline, you can contact extenuating circumstances who can potentially provide you with an extension. And finally, there's support from the academic skills team here at UWS. Now, when it comes to us, we can offer you a variety of help. There's help with all phases of dissertations, from the very early planning through to the writing, right through to proofreading and submission. So whatever stage you're at, even if it's just thinking early on about your dissertation, you can come and see us and we can provide you with some advice. We offer advice on all matters relating to academic skills, things like writing, research, referencing, as well as things like time management, organization, planning, and getting motivated. We offer one-to-one or small group appointments that are bookable via My Day or the Careers and Skills Hub. You don't need a referral. You can simply book straight away and we can talk to you. And we also offer a wide variety of resources on dissertation writing, should you want to go through those as well. If you are having problems or you just want someone to talk to about general academic skills or your dissertation or an upcoming assignment that you might be thinking about, simply get in touch with us. You can book a one appointment today through the Careers and Skills portal via My Day, or you can contact us at skills@uws.ac.uk with any additional questions that you may have about the service. We hope you found this video useful, and thanks very much for watching.